There's an article that Comic Book Movie just put out today, and I'm in the mood to poke the bear, so why not? Here you go. Marvel Studios versus DC Studios. Did the MCU or the DCU win in 2025?
Yeah, you're poking the bear.
No, of course. Well, I didn't write it. All-Star Superman writer Grant Morris. Oh, that's not it. Wrong thing. Just kidding. Marvel Studios versus DC Studios. Did the MCU or DCU win in 2025? Now that Wonder Man has been moved to next January, that's it for the new Marvel Studios and DC Studios content. But did either the MCU or DCU win this year? Here's our take on what they did right and wrong. It's only mid-October, but that's it for the new movies and TV shows for Marvel Studios and DC Studios. We're still expecting plenty of announcement trailers and reveals before 2025 is over, of course, and both studios had a busy year. For DC Studios, it was all about relaunching a brand on its last legs. As for Marvel Studios, the goal was to bounce back after a challenging few years that had been hampered by superhero fatigue and a focus on streaming content. There were successes and failures on both sides, but this genre is clearly going nowhere. Wow. Still, it's hard not to watch which of them won 2025. In this feature, we look back at the past 10 months, and they say Superman was the year's box office winner. The last time a DCEU movie made over $500 million worldwide was 2018 when Aquaman exceeded expectations. Shazam was a moderate hit in 2019, but was all downhill from there with as many commercial flops as critical. 2023 was a disaster for the DC brand, and even Joker Folly of Doo-Doo crashed and burned last year. Not only did James Gunn deliver a Superman movie that won over fans and critics alike, but it was easily the biggest superhero box office hit of 2025 with over $615 million worldwide. Fantastic Four First Steps couldn't compare with the $520 million haul, while Captain America Brave New World 413 and Thunderbolts 382 reached nowhere near the same heights as Man of Steel. MCU has a more exciting future. As we just discussed, as we head into 2026, Marvel Studios slate does appear a little bit more exciting than what DC has planned. 2026 has Avengers Doomsday, Spider-Man Brand New Day, Daredevil Born Again, Vision Quest, Wonder Man, and new seasons of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man and X-Men 97. DC Studios, meanwhile, isn't slacking with Supergirl, Lanterns, and Clayface. Still, none of those feel like events or even fall into the category of must-see superhero storytelling right now, especially when we keep hearing that Lanterns will be a grounded Green Lantern story. They have potential, but a horror movie set in Gotham without Batman isn't up there with Marvel Studios what they're offering next year. Captain America Brave New World may have killed a franchise. So I like that they're going back and forth and giving reasons why there's no clear-cut winner yet.
Yeah.
Studios spent much of 2025 attempting to move on from the quantity over quality issues that have plagued the MCU since Endgame. Unfortunately, there was at least one more casualty this year, courtesy of Captain America Brave New World. The movie was plagued with issues behind the scenes. Not even some of the studio's most extensive reshoots could save a story that never really worked. As a result, Sam Wilson's standing as Cap was damaged almost beyond repair, as was a previously $1 billion franchise. There were elements of Captain America Brave New World that deserved praise, but ultimately it was a letdown. What could have been a fun adventure for Sam proved to be a Winter Soldier wannabe and left fans eager for a Steve Rogers return. Daredevil Born Again beats Peacemaker. Ironheart didn't leave much of a lasting impression beyond Sacha Baron Cohen's pitch-perfect take on Mephisto. Daredevil Born Again, however, overcame a creative overhaul to finally bring The Man Without Fear squarely into the MCU. With a TVMA rating, it seems fitting to compare the Daredevil revival to Peacemaker Season 2. While they're two very different shows, James Gunn's worst impulses were front and center, goofy subplots, gratuitous orgy scenes, and a hit-or-miss humor. Daredevil Born Again added to the MCU by establishing a street-level corner that will expand with The Punisher and Spider-Man Brand New Day. Peacemaker introduced some intriguing new ideas, only to waste its talented lead and concepts like Earth X that made it arguably the DCU's first big misstep. Daredevil Born Again wasn't perfect, but its upcoming Season 2 is far more exciting than the prospect of Peacemaker Season 3. Thunderbolts and the Fantastic Four were a step in the right direction for a troubled brand. People like to make it sound like Marvel Studios has been delivering disaster after disaster since Endgame. Not true. There have been plenty of movies and TV shows just as good, if not better. There have also been some major disappointments. Regardless, in what proved to be another rocky year for the MCU, Thunderbolts delivered one of the most moving and impactful stories of the year. Yes, it flopped. I mean, I don't know about flops, but it did make a hit. It wasn't a hit. It lost money, but it's not a flop. But Jake, flop is when you lose disastrous amounts of money. I think people overuse flop. It was a disappointment. There's no doubt about it. It was a disappointment and it lost money, but there's a difference. But Jake Schreier now being at the helm of the X-Men reboot is a genius move on Kevin Feige's part. As for the Fantastic Four First Steps, while it had some issues, like the Marvels was a flop, by the way, it was in many ways Marvel Studios back on top form. Marvel's first family has been given a fresh coat of paint, and this reboot proved there's still plenty of life in the brand. Superman was exactly what the genre needed. This is a very balanced article, by the way. I want to give props to Cover.
Yeah.
It's become impossible to deny superhero fatigue exists, and in many ways, Superman was the remedy to it. James Gunn did cram a lot of ideas while establishing his DCU, but the result was a feel-good movie that even left diehard Marvel fans grinning from ear to ear. Embracing comic books, delivering a hopeful take on the character, the filmmaker delivered a movie that could appeal to the masses and reignite interest in the character that many felt was outdated and no longer a draw. We still have some questions and concerns about Gunn's wider plans for the DCU. However, if this is an indication of what's to come from Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters slate, not even the odd letdown like Peacemaker Season 2 can derail DC Studios. Okay. Again, props to that article. I thought it was handled well. Chris Carr, let's start with you. You hear that. Give me your opinion on the article itself, what stood out to you, and your assessment of it, and if you have who you think is the clear cut in the front, better poised to be successful down the line, and who won this year. I love talking to you guys about Nutrafol. They are the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand and is trusted by over 1.5 million people. Feel great about what you're putting into your body since Nutrafol hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed studies and NSF content certified. It's the gold standard in third-party certification for supplements. I'm telling you, Nutrafol is no joke. You see the results. Roxy was talking about it not too long ago. She's been using it. She sees the results. You see thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping. When you go to Nutrafol.com, you got to enter the promo code Kristian. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com. That is spelled Nutrafol.com. Use the promo code Kristian. Nutrafol.com, promo code Kristian.
This is an excellent article because we're dealing with facts, not feelings. Your feelings aren't facts. The facts can inform your feelings, and they do an excellent job teetering between the two here and giving you actual hard data. Because when you look at a lot of these numbers, too, there is a lot of back and forth ultimately. Peacemaker Season 2 started out with this 22% increase for their premiere versus Season 1, and then obviously that petered off. Daredevil Born Again had like 7.5 million views, billion views, something like that. Let me double check. Million views for its first 5 days on Disney+. That was a really great premiere for them, but again, teetered off. We've seen mixed feelings about some of the things that have come out of the box office. We've seen things like, our first Captain America film with Mackie at the helm not doing well because it wasn't a film that was his. It was about so many other things. The article does a really great job explaining all of this. At the end of the day here, I am going to be that person, though, who goes, I am going to go with my gut of what lasted for me as a moviegoer, as a TV fan, etc. And for me this year, as a lifelong, Marvel comic book girl, I know way more about Marvel than I do about DC. I found myself gravitating towards of DC stories this year. I particularly was obsessed with Superman because of the wild optimism in that film, which was something that I needed, and I think a lot of people needed. So to say, the genre is still here, I think that's our big takeaway. I still am always frustrated with superhero fatigue. I still always think that it's mediocrity fatigue. We're not tired of superheroes. We're tired of lazy, tropey writing that doesn't deliver and just kind of hopes that we accept this because it's based on IP we love. No, we want really great stories. We want excellent character development. We want things that enthrall us. We don't want to just go, oh, somebody's got a cape or a cowl. I'll tune in. And I feel like that's the big takeaway from this year is even stories that were pretty dang good. Thunderbolts comes to mind. People still have this expectation of, are these movies worth watching in a theater? And also having to deal with the idea of what homework do I have to do before I see these movies? That still was Marvel's big issue this year. And DC gave us some properties where we didn't have to do homework. We got to just jump in and see it face value and take it for what it was. So for me, at the end of the day, I think DC did a little better this year. But the article does such a beautiful job of going, hey, we kind of ping-ponged back and forth throughout all of this. Here's all the data. And this is how I hope all of you lovely people on the internet debate from now on. Give me some data. Give me some facts.
I agree with almost all your points. I think that you very well said, and I think that you're right when it comes to the homework aspect of Marvel. I think that did hurt movies like Thunderbolts for sure.
Yeah.
But I do think, and I know that we disagree on this, I do think that there is a regular, what's it, the average moviegoer. I do think there is a bit of fatigue with them, with the comic book genre. I don't necessarily think that there is a comic book fatigue within the community itself. I think
Sure.
that those are the ones who are showing up. I think that those are the ones like that are going to see the Fantastic Four and those movies. I think that the casual viewer, because of maybe the homework aspect of it, and because it's just a genre, I don't really care about superheroes anymore. That adds to that fatigue. I've heard people that I know inside of whether it's my own family or friends going, unless it's something like a Deadpool and Wolverine, where they're like, oh, well, I know those characters, I can go sit down. And then the same thing with Spider-Man. Spider-Man, I think that the genre has lost a lot of the casual viewers in general. And it's why a movie like Superman, which I thought was a solid movie, did 600 as opposed to like 800. It would have easily made 800, if not more, in 2018, 2019. That same movie if put out then. So I'll get into my thoughts about this article and everything else too. But Winston, what do you make of all this?
I want to give a tiny baby bit of pushback to the last point that you made, that I do think that sure, you do have the casual audience in the Western world that is kind of like a little over it, but I don't think we're speaking enough on the fact that these movies are not doing well internationally anymore. That is the bigger
but that's
thing.
right. But that's okay. So, but that's still casual movie fans.
But I can say, like, with rare exception, that's American movies as a whole. Like China as a whole just isn't rocking with a lot of the way that they used to. They genuinely have kind of pushed on into their own.
Let's have that conversation. Let's have that conversation in January when Avatar comes out.
But I said with exception. Avatar is an exception. Right. Jurassic World is an exception.
Right.
And then go look at the rest of the international numbers on our movies, especially in China, and how they just did not hit. So that's you know what I'm saying. That's.
I think it's comic book though, dude. I think it's internationally comic book movies don't pull as much anymore too. I'd like to see some of the what did Minecraft do internationally? I think it did pretty well. I think the movies are doing okay. I think the comic book genre has lost. I think you just proved my point, to be honest.
No, let's see real quick. So let's see. Lilo and Stitch did well foreign. Right. Minecraft did well foreign, and Jurassic World Rebirth did well foreign. But How to Train Your Dragon did fine. F1 did well. Superman did not great.
Right. It's a comic book genre. So we're agreeing.
I mean, I get it, just because the comic, all the movies I'm talking about up at the top here, but I'm even just like kind of looking and comparing with some of the other stuff in general. I mean, Sinners didn't do that great. Bloodlines didn't do that great.
What was Bloodlines?
Final Destination Bloodlines.
But those are smaller genre movies. Like if you look at but the big blockbuster movies, which again, I agree with you that the comic book movie has lost the casual fan internationally as well, because the ones that you just listed off, F1, all those still are playing internationally. It's not just American movies, it's the comic book genre. So I think that it's more of the casual fan in all over the world is getting kind of tired of it. What's crazy is that it's fall already. It's coming. And I got 2 kids. The back to school rush, it's already here. We're getting the early morning drop-offs, the after school activities, the soccer games, and the last minute supply runs. Don't forget about the extra trips for groceries, gas. The days get busier, and it all adds up. It adds up fast. Get that free Upside app. There's an easy way to earn real cash back every time you fill up your tank, grab a bite to eat, stop on essentials. Whether you're driving across town for the soccer games or picking up snacks for the school lunchbox, Upside helps you keep more in your pocket. In fact, Top Upside has given back $1 billion to its users. $1 billion. The free Upside app, it gets you cash back on daily essentials, whether it's gas, groceries, and dining. And yes, if you're asking, it's real cash back. There's no confusing rewards, points, credits, just money. And you can transfer it straight to your bank account. Next, claim an offer for what you're buying on Upside. then pay as usual with a credit or debit card. Follow the steps in the app, get paid. So I'm using this. I heard about it, especially everything I mentioned with the soccer games, the back to school rush, all that, that's me. And since I learned about this thing, it has been so beneficial. It fits in so easy to my wife's schedule, to my schedule. Upside has given back $1 billion to its users. To find out how much you can earn, you got to download the free Upside app. You got to use that promo code Kristian. You get an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas. An extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas. Using that promo code Kristian. I love hearing about stuff like this. I'm so happy that I have discovered Upside, and you will be too.
Yeah. But either way, to answer the overall question of did I think Marvel or DC ultimately won? I think that DC had a strong outing. I think that this last little bit with Peacemaker left just enough of a bad taste in the mouth that I'll give the edge to Marvel, just from the standpoint of, even though they're going for quality over quantity at this particular point, they just had enough to kind of have out there. I mean, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man was extremely, for the most part, people enjoyed Born Again. Thunderbolts, again, extremely well done. Maybe didn't hit the numbers that they wanted, but really well done movie. First Steps was good. You know, like, again, there was no staying power with their shows at this point, which sucks. But like, people had a lot of good things to say about Eyes of Wakanda and Marvel Zombies, and Wonder Man seems interesting. So like, I give them a lot of credit for all of that. But I think it's like you said, because of the fatigue. I think because people aren't really trusting of either of these studios at this particular moment. They're trying to figure out if they're going to dive back in or not. I think it just kind of was doing this, and so there was some excitement, but there wasn't like oh, we back, baby. Like, I don't think that is what's going on. So I give Marvel a slight edge out, just because I think it was a little more even as far as quality goes.
That's totally fair.
Throughout the year, but obviously, Superman really was the king when it came to everything. Period.
Yeah. Now, DC, to me, this is why this whole conversation is unfair. DC didn't have enough. Like, Marvel still had a ton of stuff. They had Daredevil. They had, which again, if you look at, they have so many that you can cancel stuff out. Where I didn't necessarily, I didn't love Ironheart, so I think Ironheart, Daredevil, okay, quality. Ironheart, just okay. People kind of forgot about it. And then you've got Brave New World, which people just kind of forgot about. It's okay, average movie. Thunderbolts, really good movie for me. Didn't perform well at the box office, but really well. Fantastic Four, to me, really good movie. Didn't perform well at the box office, and the Marvel Zombies. They have, I mean, there's other, and the Spider-Man cartoon. They just had so much, like they always do, where it's not fair to DC. And I see the absolute morons in the comment section sometimes are like, why does Kristian hate DC? It's like, or hate Gunn. I think he's one of the most talented people out there today, and I think that he is absolutely 100% someone that you give an opportunity to do this with. I do have, like, in the same way that I think that there's a lot of creatives sometimes that, when given too much leeway, no handcuffs, it could be a detriment to anybody, no matter how talented that they are. And I think that Peacemaker season 2 proved that, because Peacemaker season 2, I'm not saying there aren't a lot of people who liked it, and I can't really speak on it all the way through because I've only watched 3 episodes of it. But to me, that also says something to me, where I'm like, okay, I will get to it eventually, right? And I've liked what I've seen thus far, but I've also heard other things that happen that I don't know if I'm going to love, but maybe I'll be bracing myself for it. But I always wonder now if the Gunn humor is going to get in the way of his excellent storytelling, right? Which he does very well. I didn't think it bombarded Superman, and I think that Superman did what they needed to do in order to start the DC. So I think movie-wise, if you just compare the one movie that DC had, I would say that DC won the movie war, this if there was a war, but the battle or the argument, DC won because it's one movie set out to do what it intended to do. There's a back and forth of how much it made or whatever too, but again, making 600 whatever did internationally, one of the it on a brand that we all agree is being tired, I guess, with a casual audience, whatever the reason might be. It accomplished that. It was the #1 box office winner. It's still going to be in the top 5 to top 10 box office winners of the year internationally. So it accomplished that, and it set the road to what they were going to do. The other movies, as much as I liked them, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, it did not accomplish what they needed it to do. It really needed people to get back on board. Their shows didn't accomplish what they needed to do. The Daredevil show did not accomplish what it needed to do. I loved that show, but it didn't accomplish it. There were a lot of people who were oh, it's going to be back on Netflix. And Ironheart didn't do anything to further the character of Riri, who was not strong enough in Black Panther 2, and I don't think it warranted the Mephisto and all that stuff too. So I think DC won for the limited stuff that they had.
My only thing that I would say to just kind of circle back, and I hear everything that you're saying on that, is truthfully just like I saw earlier, like people are literally saying to me, I can't believe you think that DC screwed the pooch just because of one bad episode, like a finale. But this is where I go back to being a sports person. So anybody else that has ever watched baseball, football, basketball, if my quarterback is balling all game, 500 yards, 5 touchdowns, nothing is going wrong, but on the last play of the game to win the game, you throw an interception and the other team scores, nobody gives a shit what you did the rest of the game.
Right.
You lost.
Ooh.
And to be honest with you, that finale
was so bad,
really
huh? I didn't even see it.
Like, the funny thing is, the things that were in it were good, but it kind of just upended the table as far as what story were we telling with this season. It became that Peacemaker season 2 was really at that point not really about Peacemaker. The show really was just Superman epilogue, and that was the only thing about it that kind of bummed me out. I don't have a problem with us telling the greater universal story. That's the point of doing all of these, doing the franchises like this, of doing DC and Marvel. But what have we said? Like, the reason I didn't like Brave New World, that was not a story about Sam Wilson. That was a Hulk story, and he just happened to be around. That's what that felt like at the end of Peacemaker there, which sucks because I was enjoying what we were doing. So again, that you don't eliminate the entirety of the performance, but you left enough bad taste in the mouth about the game, essentially, that it's just kind of like,
You're not the only person to say that. Like, yeah, Chris, go ahead. I haven't heard your thoughts really. Yeah.
I enjoyed the finale more than you did, but we talked about this last week, where it was there's so many things left on the table. There were so many promises that you didn't deliver on, and for that to be not only a season finale but potentially a series finale, that's where it becomes really disappointing. And then what we kind of talked about too, and what I asked Winston last week, and I'd love to hear how you feel about this, Kristian, is this kind of an overcorrection for how Marvel has made things so intrinsically tied? Because essentially now, Peacemaker season 2 can just be a throwaway line in the next Superman movie, where it can be something of like, oh yeah, well, since we sent Peacemaker to salvation, since we did this, that's all you need. That's all you need now. Oh, ever since Checkmate opened up, you can just do a line. So then the homework's not there, but you do miss maybe those deep interpersonal relationships that we've now formed. Do you think that's the overcorrection? Do you think this was just James Gunn doing whatever he wanted? Was it him personally working stuff out? Because that Chris monologue, well, you haven't seen the finale, but there's a monologue in there that I was like, is this for you?
Right. Well, so the answer is I have not seen the finale, but what I've heard and from what it makes sense. But the question is, there's only so many times you can do that, right? There's only so many times you can do that with a project. It's like, okay, well, why? Is it connecting? Is it not connecting? I know it's loosely, and where they don't want to give people a lot of homework, which I think is the right play. But I think what it does show, and I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with this if you're running it, but I think that this is what this shows. There was no reason for James Gunn to make Peacemaker with this cast and everybody else to part of the new DCU canon, other than he loved making the show. He loved doing it. He loved the fact that his wife was involved in it, who was excellent in the show, by the way.
She's great.
Excellent.
She's so good.
She's phenomenal in the show. And even in the again, like the season 1 and the 3 episodes I've seen so far, she's great, and she deserves every bit of praise that she gets for it. But because she was in it, the cast was in it, the chemistry was in it, the much fun that he had in it, he wanted to find a way to make it canon.
1,000%.
So what he did then is he's like, well, I'm doing season 2, and I figured out a way to do it. And they probably had conversations, rightfully so. Him and his wife, they're reading a book in bed at night, and they go, well, how can I make this work? How can I figure it out? Multiverse. There's a way to do it. There's a way to play it together, and I could do that. And that's what he did. So he did that when maybe, even if he loved it as a filmmaker, as the head guy, maybe it wasn't the right choice to do. As a director with that and creator of a show with that power, I'm going to do this because I'm allowed to, and I can, and I will. And he went and look, he very much probably believes that this is the greatest thing and the most fun thing he's ever done in his life. Audiences clearly didn't feel that way, not only in reviews but also in watch time. And he's got to start taking the note, though, that he's got to make it less of the gunverse, and he's got to make it the DCU.
Yeah,
because it's becoming the gunverse.
I have because this is the other thing, Kristian, I think that's so interesting. We kept having theories. How does Peacemaker go into the DCU? And the route he decided to go was, nah, I'm just gonna retcon all the shit. Like, there ain't gonna be no explanation. Ain't gonna be no we went to dimension hopping. And yet somehow we went dimension hopping. If you were already going to go to another universe, bro, then why not just use that as your explanation? Like, so that's the other part of it that felt weird. It was this idea of like, we're not going to worry about that. And yet somehow we worried about it. Like, those are the little things that you're exactly right. Yeah. This really felt more of, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this for my people, and y'all going to get on board or whatever. And there's something about that I like that as far as me being a petty individual. I don't like it if I'm trying to tell stories.
But he liked, but that's the difference. But I don't think anybody can argue with. He liked telling this story, but sure. I think with what Kris said earlier, which is true, he gets to throw this away now and focus in on the other stuff, right? They'll bring back Peacemaker and they'll bring back other characters inside of the movie that you won't have to have done homework. But now he gets to focus in on and let the other directors now focus in on let Lanterns kind of play for itself. Let Supergirl play for itself. Build out. And I think he's put himself in a position, because you guys know as well as I do, we are very much in a what have you done for me lately town, that it's like, okay, or business rather. So it's like, all right, that's gone. Okay, great. The show didn't live up to everybody's expectations. Who cares? What's Supergirl going to do? And if Supergirl hits and it pulls off of these moments that every single person that I've heard of who has read this graphic novel or comic loves the story and loves everything about it, if that transfers over, ain't nobody going to be talking about Peacemaker season 2 anymore. They're going to be talking about how good Supergirl was and how good Millie Alcock was at it, and the DCU is back. They are one movie away from victory. That's it.
I agree with that. If Supergirl hits, then this is a moot point. But I think the other thing that just sticks out in my mind, and I think that's why I've been maybe a little bit harder on Gunn with the way Peacemaker went, is the fact that he then went on an interview and said that he's feeling burnout already. That, to me, a lot of that kind of stems from the fact, well, damn, man. I mean, you are supposed to be running the whole thing, but you decided to directly put your hands in every project that we've gotten released so far. So there's also this idea of like, I need you to keep your energy up and your endurance up, because
and he's directing another one.
That's what I'm saying. That is the part that I think where I get a little frustrated, is it didn't have to be this way. Like, right. I want you to be in it for the long haul. I don't want to put in my star for it and play all the minutes in the game if I need you in the fourth quarter. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
sure,
pace yourself.
Yeah. Well, Kris, they are in a good position though, even though I don't just necessarily disagree with what Comic Book Movie said about that. Look, Marvel has more glitzy things coming up, right? With with whether it's X-Men 97 season 2, whether it's obviously Spider-Man coming out, Endgame, they've got the big flashy toys that everybody's gonna be excited about. But DC is in a very, to me, good place where they can establish something. When you have Lanterns as a TV show, you're gonna win me over with a grounded show if you focus on the characters and it's a solid thing. You're gonna win me over. Supergirl, I want to be won over because I want to believe in everything that you guys are talking about with how good this story is. So
Yeah.
if that delivers, you've got that surprising thing. Oh my God, you see Supergirl is amazing. And then you've got the Clayface, which is a horror show. You have 3 different things that is where the 2 flashy things in Marvel will all feel like the same tone for the most part. These are 3 different projects that DC has and could make you go, whoa, that was exciting. And it could bring some new energy into it. So I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I absolutely agree with that, especially because if we are going to say, hey, there's a whole group of people who are done with superhero movies, just point blank. I don't want to see this. I'm out of it. But if you play around with genre, then that does bring in other audience members. I have lots of friends who are so into horror and they try to get me to watch it all the time. And they are jazzed about Clayface. They are so excited. They're asking me which comics they should be reading, what they should be like getting ready for. I've got other people who are just like, oh, I'm so pumped about that movie. Love body horror. That's going to be fun. You know, the Supergirl story, I think that has so much potential because while we have so many of these superpowered individuals who we have seen them experience loss, we've seen, Thanos destroy entire planets and take entire, civilizations like down. I don't feel like we've had a really horrific look at the actuality of that sometimes. I think it's been a little glossy comic booky. And I think with Supergirl, you have a lot of potential to show how damaged and horrible someone can be. We saw this a little bit, with Hawkeye's transition, obviously, into taking down the Yakuza and everything. But you see this person who's not just only out for vengeance. She is causing fights. She is drinking heavily. She is becoming this really just like awful version of herself because she can't deal with her own trauma. And I think that's a really interesting story that a lot of times with our heroes, we go, they're going to have one movie where they really are feeling down, but don't you worry, by act 3, they're going to have it together again. And I kind of like the idea of having a super character who doesn't get it together, who still stays incredibly flawed, who still deals with those vices throughout. So there's something really cool there. And then Lanterns, being pitched to us as this kind of true detective show. My dad's so excited about that. And again, this is my litmus test is if my dad is excited for something superhero-y, the common person is aware of this because he doesn't read comic books, but he's so excited about this of, oh yeah, that sounds like it's going to be really cool because they're solving some kind of mystery, right? But there's some intergalactic aspect of it too. Yeah, Dad, that's what it's being pitched as. So you've got so many people who can come to it for different reasons, not just those of us in this little bubble who, go get our issues weekly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a conversation that will continue to go on, and I'm glad that we were able to have it. So put your thoughts in there overall about this particular article. What'd you guys think? What were your thoughts on it? Who took this year? And please take into consideration DC had far less material out there than Marvel, but for everything involved, who do you think had the better year? And who do you think is poised to have a better run? And I get, oh, why do you care? Because that's what we do here. Go somewhere else. All right.